classified. But in the 1950s, during the Korean War, many of our POWs were brainwashed. So in our effort to try to figure out how that happened and how we could avoid it, obviously on a deeper level, how we could do it to other people, our government, which eventually fell under the auspices of the CIA, started a project called MK Ultra. And this was an umbrella program that began, in the late 50s into the early 60s, and it ran into around the mid-70s before it was halted. And what this program involved was over 80 different institutions, prisons, orphanages, mental institutions, colleges, universities, what have you, that were engaging in some very specific psychological abuse, torture, brainwashing research using, human subjects. And and again, there were 2 congressional hearings that exposed this program to the public and eventually got it shut down. Unfortunately, right before one of them, Richard Helms, who was the then director of the CIA, destroyed a massive amount of MK Ultra documentation. So the documents that we do have were gleaned through the Freedom of Information Act, and there's still quite a few to look at, and it's enough to, indict the whole program. But a lot of people believe that it didn't end. It just splintered into smaller, deeper black programs, because I don't think that we would ever stop this kind of research. And I talked to a woman who works in the prison system and says, it happened. We're testing drugs on prisoners. We're testing, non-lethal weapons, and it continues. But I think it continues now in a much smaller way.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's, in so many ways that we are, guinea pigs. And it's the mindful awareness that we can, have basically in every aspect of our life to kind of look at things a little differently than maybe how we're told to look at things. And it takes that discerning mind to really differentiate between fact and fiction and what holds true. And I really loved your comment on trusting your gut, because that I'm all about that. But it's one of those things that sometimes people are easily influenced, thinking that their gut's telling them one thing, and when in fact it's telling them something else.
Exactly. So, we've lost touch with our own ability to discern the truth, and that's, I think, because of the overwhelming amount of information and distraction that we have today, which is, what a great way to control us, keep us distracted.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's perfect, and give the power away. Give it away to somebody else who knows something better than we do, and that's the mentality that so many are tapped into. So it's, your book is fascinating, Marie. I really loved it. There's so much here. I want everyone to know, again, how to get in touch with you. The book is called Mind Wars, and it is authored by Marie Jones and Larry Flaxman, and it is through New Page, and Warwick Publishing and publicists are promoting Marie and Larry's book, and it's a history of mind control, surveillance, social engineering by the government, media, and secret societies. It is a wonderful book. It's one of those books where you will look at everything in your life a little differently, and you won't be.
That's a good thing.
Yes, you will no longer be gullible.
Yes. Once you wake up, you see you have more power, and that's the bottom line.
Right. And the power that you do have, you want to reorchestrate it. So it's something where you actually have more control over the power that you do have. So instead of giving it all away. But I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. And where can our listeners get in touch with you or your book? I know you have a website.
Right. My website is www.mariedjones.com, and the book is available everywhere, online, brick-and-mortar bookstores. And thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
It was wonderful, Marie. I really appreciate your information and your book, and I look forward to more from you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
And we're moving into our second guest today, and our second guest is going to be a wonderful woman who wrote a beautiful story, and the book is called Bed 39, and it's written by Sean McKelvey. I want to say that right because it's a very Irish name, and I know how it's written. So it's Bed 39, and it was written by Sean McKelvey. And the story that this is about, and it's a very, very wonderful book to read like when you're falling asleep. I started this book planning to watch a movie with my husband, and I started it after dinner, and I could not put it down, and I read it till I went to sleep, way into the night. It's a wonderful, wonderful book, but it's a love story, and it's a love story about the inception of hospice, how hospice came to be. And hospice came to be through a wonderful woman named Cicely Saunders, who started off first as a nurse and then decided she wanted to work with patients who were nearing their death. And so she was called to this. It was a calling. In finding out the treatment that those in the 40s and 50s were suffering in their end-of-life treatment, the atrocities of pain and the screams in the hallways of the wards and the lack of compassion and sensitivity that she found spurred her to build and develop what is now known as hospice, which, if you have ever experienced a loved one who is dying, hospice is the absolute perfect solution for both you, the caretaker, your loved ones and family members, and your loved one who's dying. Hospice is an organization that is international. It is the end-of-life process. It is filled with both physicians, social workers, nurses, clergy, and spiritual support. It also offers whatever pain management you would need. Hospice offers both a brick and mortar building for those who would like to come to their facility to pass, as well as those who want to stay in their own home. Hospice allows an ability for nurses to come to your home and administer both care, medicine, and your needs until it's time for you to go, where you're able to live and die in your comforts of your home with your loved ones around you. Now, the hospice building as well offers the same options. They have the most beautifully decorated rooms. It looks like a room in your home or somebody's home. It is often designed by interior decorators. It's done with a tremendous amount of love and care. The people there at hospice are living earth angels within themselves. I've worked with some social workers years ago, decades ago now, and it was an extremely moving experience for me, something that I will never forget, and something that changed my life forever as I worked with patients, people who were getting ready to die, who were looking at their life and their loves, their purposes, and what they've contributed in this life, and also in their passing and how they wanted to pass, the music they wanted to choose for their memorial, the colors they wanted, the flowers they wanted, the things they wanted to say or have said. All these things are enabled when you have compassionate care at the end of your life. And this is what hospice offers. They offer people that are earth angels. They offer people that are not only skilled in their craft, in their social work, in their nursing, in their doctoring, but these people have hearts and souls that go beyond the human condition. These people look beyond their own pain and suffering while they're assisting these people, these souls, into their next transition. They deal with death and grief every day, and they are remarkable souls, some of the finest people that walk this earth. So I wanted to give you a little preface into what this book is about, because it does read like a love story, okay? It is a fictional story, however, written of actual people that were significant in the development of hospice. So we have some key players here. We have Dr. Cicely Saunders, who's in the book, and we have her love, who was David. And then we have a wonderful couple that I loved their story so much, Tomas and Mia. And it's a wonderful, wonderful love story. Bed 39 is the ultimate love story, which recounts two tales of romantic love born on hospital deathbeds, decades apart, and in countries on opposite sides of the Atlantic Ocean. The love between Tomas and Mia in the United States, as well as David and Cicely in the United Kingdom, are filled with meaning, passion, and true love that transcend life and death. Bed 39 also tells the true story of birth and evolution of hospice that sprang from David and Cicely's love, the tale of an overarching, bigger love, agape love, the love of humanity, implicit in the evolution of compassionate care for the terminally ill. An array of beloved characters occupy Bed 39 over the decades, thanks to Tomas's decision to imprint his soul on Bed 39 after his extremely premature death at age 27. He treats us to seeing the unique humanity of each of the lives they have lived. So here, without further ado, I introduce to you the author of Bed 39, Sean McKelvey. Welcome, Sean. Your Bed 39 book is phenomenal. Welcome to Unlimited Realities, and thank you so much for being our guest today.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. I'm pleased to be here.
I loved your book. It was such a wonderful love story. I went into it feeling like I was going to read about the history of hospice, which of course comes through in the story. But what I got out of your book was so much more than the evolving history of what hospice was. I actually read one of the best love stories I've ever read. And
oh my gosh, I'm thrilled.
I honestly, Sean, I was telling the audience before you came on how I was getting settled into bed early and was getting ready to watch a movie later on with my husband. I had picked up your book after dinner, and the movie was never watched because I read your book until I finished.
Oh my! That means so much to me.
Oh, it was wonderful. It really was. I truly suggest everybody who loves a good love story or a good read to get Bed 39. It's a wonderful, wonderful love story. The tears, the emotions, and what the perspective that you gave from love was not coming from the sexuality. It came from such the depths of soul that it was so touching. And the way it was written and the way it was projected, it was just an extremely heartfelt book. So without me rambling on anymore, I would like to come and throw this down to you and talk to you about how did Bed 39 come into being, Sean? I mean, this is an incredible story.
Oh, and I'd love to answer that. That's actually a friend of mine that I have known since I was a young girl, since we were 9 years old when we met, and she is a certified hospice nurse. We both went into nursing school. I ended up doing a variety of, from emergency room to critical care, and through the years, she had been telling me just stories that, and especially we were discussing this in 2012 about the last moments of life and some of the things